All right, today we're jumping into a really big deal in the world of breast cancer treatment. It's a study that basically rewrites the rulebook. It's called the Import Low trial, and its latest 10-year results, well, they confirm a super powerful idea that when it comes to radiation, sometimes less is actually more.
So, this whole explainer really boils down to this one big question. For, decades, effective cancer treatment usually meant more aggressive treatment. And that forced this really tough trade-off, right? Between fighting the cancer and, well, your quality of life. But what if you didn't have to make that trade-off anymore? Let's dig into the exact problem this trial was designed to tackle.
Okay, so to really get why this trial is such a game changer, we have to talk about the basic challenge, the dilemma, really, that doctors and patients have been wrestling with for years when it comes to radiation.
First off, let's be clear. Radiation works. There's no doubt about it. After a surgeon goes in and removes a tumor, radiotherapy has been the absolute gold standard for a long time. The whole point is to zap any tiny, microscopic cancer cells that might be hanging around. And honestly, it's incredibly good at stopping the cancer from ever coming back in that breath.
But here's the catch. To play it safe, the standard way of doing things was to radiate the entire breast. And the problem with that? Well, you're exposing a lot of healthy tissue to radiation that doesn't need it, including bits of the lungs and even the heart. For women with low-risk cancer, this collateral damage from the treatment could, over the long run, become a bigger problem than the cancer they were treating in the first place.
And this is what led researchers to ask this just brilliantly simple question. They knew that when this kind of cancer comes back, it almost always pops up right near where the original tumor was. So the question became, why on earth are we treating the whole breast?
And that is precisely the question the Import Low trial was designed to answer. We're not talking about some small-scale experiment here. No, this was a massive, definitive study designed to give us a crystal-clear answer once and for all.
This thing was seriously robust. It involved more than 2,000 women all across the UK, and the researchers were super specific. They focused on women over 50 with low-risk early-stage cancer. Why? Because that's the exact group where you start to wonder if the risks of the radiation might actually outweigh the benefits. They were literally the perfect people to test out this whole less is more idea.
The way they set it up was just beautiful, really elegant. So patients were randomly split into one of three groups. You had your control group, right? They got the standard whole breast radiation. Then there was a second group that got kind of a hybrid approach, a lower dose across the whole breast, but a full-power targeted dose right on the tumor bed. And finally, the third group got only partial breast radiation. That means the radiation was aimed only at that tumor area. The stage was perfectly set for a head-to-head comparison.
Now, the first results that came out after 5 years, they were already changing how doctors practiced. But, cancer treatment is a long game. The real test, the one everyone was waiting for, is the 10-year data. And that's what we have now. So after a full decade of following these women, what did we learn?
Okay, first things first. What was the main goal? The researchers were measuring something called ipsilateral breast tumor recurrence. I know, it's a mouthful. IBTR for short. But all that fancy term means is, did the cancer come back in the same breast? That's it. This is the number one thing you look at to see if the treatment worked.
And the results? Wow. They're just stunningly clear. So, for the standard whole breast treatment, the recurrence rate was only 2.8%. For that middle reduced dose group, it was even lower, 1.9%. And for the most targeted partial breast group, it was 3.0%. The most important thing to see here is that these numbers are not just incredibly low, they're basically the same. Statistically, there's no real difference between them.
So here's the bottom line. After a full 10 years, the risk of the cancer coming back was tiny, hovering right around 3%. And it didn't matter which treatment you got. This is just powerful, powerful proof that for this specific group of patients, a more targeted, less intense approach is just as good at keeping the cancer at bay.
Okay, so we've established they're all equally effective at fighting the cancer. But what about the other side of the coin? Remember the whole dilemma? Side effects. Did treating a smaller area actually mean a better quality of life for these women 10 years down the road?
So the study was great because it tracked how patients were feeling for years. Let's look at one of the main things clinicians noted: long-term changes like breast shrinkage.
And what's really remarkable here is how small the difference was. For the whole breast group, 9% reported noticeable changes. For the partial breast group, just 7%. The takeaway here is huge. You could treat a much smaller area, be way less invasive, and there was basically no penalty when it came to cosmetic results.
So, you've got near-identical results for stopping the cancer and near-identical results for side effects. What does that all add up to? What does this mean for how we treat breast cancer from now on?
Well, the authors of the study themselves couldn't have been clearer. In their conclusion, they said it flat out. These results, and I'm quoting here, reaffirm the use of partial breast radiotherapy as standard of care. That's not a suggestion, folks. That's a declaration. It's a statement made with the confidence of a decade of rock-solid evidence. And this is probably the most important thing to understand. This study isn't predicting something that might happen in the future. It's confirming the change that's already happening right now. It's the final piece of the puzzle, the long-term proof that validates a shift that was already in motion. Guidelines in the UK, Europe, and the US were already leaning this way, and this study just slammed the door shut, providing definitive proof that for these patients, this is absolutely the right call. So let's just boil it all down. Why does this matter so much to you, to doctors, to everyone? Well, first, it gives everyone confidence that a less is more approach is totally safe. Second, it means we can avoid blasting healthy organs like the heart and lungs with radiation they don't need. A really crucial point is that this isn't some fancy, expensive new tech. It uses simple, widely available radiotherapy. And maybe most important of all, it empowers patients. It gives them the data to have a real, informed conversation with their doctor about getting exactly the right amount of treatment for them and not a bit more. Okay, so the IMPORT-LO trial gives us a really solid, definitive answer for a specific group of patients. But you know how science works, right? Every answer just opens up a whole new set of questions. So where does this take us? What comes next? This study is a huge step in a direction we call de-escalation, which is just a way of saying safely doing less. The real holy grail in cancer treatment is to get away from a one-size-fits-all approach and move towards a treatment that is perfectly, and I mean perfectly, tailored to you, your specific cancer, and your specific level of risk. And that leaves us with a really fascinating final question to chew on. If partial radiation is just as good as full radiation for this low-risk group, what about an even lower-risk group? Could it be that for some women, the perfect amount of radiation is none at all? Now that is the next frontier, and believe me, trials are already starting to ask that very question.